Hello and welcome back to the marriage series. And let me tell you, God must want y'all to get the rest of this word today, because my phone uploaded the last 3 videos so fast. I have never seen my phone record or upload to YouTube the videos that fast ever before in my life. For 4 videos at once, it usually takes 3 hours. It took 46 minutes to upload 4 videos. He wants y'all to get the rest of this word today. So it's about to be on. We getting back into it. Okay? So we're on for part 2, which is going to be another 3-4 parts of the word. So let's get in this. Alright? Now, picking up where we left off, there was kind of a somber mode that the woman will fight. She will fight even to the death to save the relationship. But if the man is not willing to fight, then it can be an issue. Now, because of the fact that I was using the template of this TV series, I'm going to have a caveat here. The TV series showed a very somber, tragic love story type format for these two in the relationship. Now, I'm not saying Kingdom Marriage is tragic, but I want to give you the understanding that it is not always gumdrops and roses. It does have its moments where it gets a little dark. And because of that, you're going to see situations that aren't always going to be perfect. But the show, in the show part, gave you a lot of longing moments. You longed to see these two together. You longed to, because you knew he loved her and you knew that she loved him. And because of that, it made for that good television, which I don't understand how that's good, where you're constantly waiting for 2 people to get together, which you may or may never see. But tons of shows are based this way. But with that being said, there was a moment where if you went back, and nobody reviews this part, which I find to be bad about this series. Everybody loves the series, but nobody talks about the books. They always talk about the comic books before they talk about the actual novels. The actual novels left you with a deeper understanding to their love and how much they cared for one another. Because there were moments, I remember it was one moment in one of the novels where the God-ordained female spouse, she was in trouble. And this man ran cross town on foot when he saw the trouble coming. He saw it coming, and he ran to her house to make sure that she did not get affected by it. To the point that he covered her, literally with his physical body, to prevent her from moving or breathing when this thing came over, because he needed to make sure that she was covered. God will cover us. If he sees danger coming to us, sometimes he will put us in a standstill position that we cannot move, and we're sitting there wondering, why are you doing, what is this? Don't ask questions, just be obedient. Sometimes your God-ordained spouse is going to put you into positions where, don't ask me questions in this moment. I just need you to listen to me and be obedient. Stand still. Stand next to me. Don't say nothing. I got you. I got you covered. Trust me. You're going to have to trust your ordained spouse. Oh, there was a moment that I forgot. I did not mention. There was a moment in the middle where the God-ordained female got sick. This man went to the depths of putting his own health in danger to make sure he brought her the cure for what it was that she had. Your God ordained spouse loves you enough that he will fight and risk his own neck to save you. Whether it be at the risk of his reputation, at the risk of what he's known for publicly, he will relinquish and let go of everything if it's not what the Lord wants for him, and he knows that it's going to lead him to a better relationship with you. As I spoke of before, you run into seasons that, depending on what age range you are, when you start to hit your 40s or between your 40s and 50s, you're going to start seeing parents getting sick, ill, and passing away. I haven't hit my 40s yet, and I know my God-ordained spouse is actually, he's up there. But you may run into seeing parents, grandparents, what have you. It may not be the parents, it may be the grandparents. But you may start to see health issues. And in this type of case, when it was a risk for the health of the God-ordained spouse's mother, he was there for her. He was there for her when she needed to go to the hospital. He was there for her to make sure that she got to see her mother and made sure that she was all right. And he was there for her when she needed to keep her mindset right, to be able to still do what she was called to do and still deal with the fact that her mother was sick. He could not make her mother better, but he still stood by her side while she was dealing with it. Meaning, if he had to stay with her overnight, he was there with her. If he needed to comfort her, he was there for her. In whichever way he needed to be there for her, he was there for her. That's why I kind of don't like the show in some ways, because the way that they portrayed the characters in there, it was like she didn't care for him and he didn't care for her, if you looked at it a certain way. But it was a deep longing. They just tried to keep their distance because they were afraid of the longing becoming trouble for them. And let's see, there was another case where, when fighting the day-to-day trials of your calling, let's just put it this way, when fighting those day-to-day trials, you're gonna come up against some bad situations, some evil people, some situations that you're not going to be able to just brush off, or it's going to be an easy fight. Sometimes these people are going to actually target you with the intent to try and kill you. But when these types of things occur, the thing that your God-ordained spouse, and pay very close attention to this, your God-ordained spouse is always going to, they will block bullets for your life if they have to. They will push you out of the way at the last minute if they have to. They will move you out the way if they have to, because they care enough about you to protect you in these situations. If it's something happens with your friend or one of their friends, the support between the two of you, that they will be at your side to be the moral support necessary in order to keep you at peace so that you can continue to operate in your calling. No matter who it is that you're dealing with that may have had issues, or there may be an issue. When you're facing monumentous trial in your life, they're going to stand at your side and walk with you. They ain't going nowhere. If they can prevent something from happening, yes, they will. If they can stand in your stead, yes, they will. If they can protect you, yes, they will. But some battles you got to fight on your own. But they're going to be there at your side, protecting you at your side, because they love you enough and care for you enough. They're going to be right there. They will walk with you. They will travel with you. And some people believe in this whole journey and travelers and so on and so forth. It is what it is. If you believe in that, hey, that's you. But you will go on journeys together, and you will have to stand together. But they're going to protect you throughout whatever phase and whatever journey in which you need to go through. They're going to walk with you. They're going to drive you through certain seasons. They're going to be the one that's in control. The way that the Lord used to show me in my dreams is He would show me the men in my life driving the car. And I'm the passenger in the vehicle. He showed me my father at one point. He showed me my ex at one point. He showed me my father again at one point. And then He also showed me my God-ordained spouse. There are going to be certain seasons that your God-ordained spouse is going to have to drive you through. And you're going to have to sit in the passenger seat and just let him drive. It is what it is. In those seasons, you should actually relax into that, because that means that you don't have to be in as much control. But you have to relinquish control so that he can do what he's called to do. So I had to add that in there, because I didn't want y'all to think that I'm just talking about the sad moments. It's not all sad, but it's the understanding that be sober-minded when it comes to these marriages, that it's not all that lovey-dovey, frou-frou, wedding dresses and all of that. The marriage comes after the wedding dress. The marriage comes after the tux and the wedding cake. It's marriage after that. The food is one day. The party is one day. The marriage is a lifetime. Okay? So, getting back to the somber part, there comes a point in time that there may come a separation. And sometimes these separations are good. Sometimes, depending on either person, will determine how quick and how fast these separations will go. Some people will go through 3-month separation. Some people will go through 6-month separation. Some people will go through a year-long separation. Some people will go through 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. How stubborn do you want to be? Because getting back to what I said, referring back to the prodigal side of the story, remember that part I said where he had to wander in the wilderness for several years? Yeah. The man's going to have to wander, because until he comes back in ordinance with what he's called to walk in, his life ain't going to go right. He's going to be stuck in a wilderness. He may find some people that he can make fun and have temporary satisfaction with, but they ain't the one that they ain't the God ordained. They aren't. But in that time frame that he's still going to be able to see you. I was listening to another young woman whose channel I follow. Her and her God ordained, they keep doing this back and forth thing. But when they were separated, she said something interesting about the way that the Lord was working through their relationship. They were separated, but this man knew when to call her. This man knew when to text her. And he knew when to say, "Are you okay? Is something going on? Do I need..." And she knew if he contacted her with 2 back-to-back calls, meaning if he called and she let it ring all the way through, that means she didn't want to be talked to, then let it go. But in this particular case, it was a scenario where she let it go through, and he called again, which let her know, okay, he's getting a sense something's off. your God ordained spouse will know if something's wrong, even if they ain't with you no more. They can be separated from you, but they're going to have that spiritual sense, just like you have spiritual sense. If they're not with you, that something's off with them. I could look at a photograph of my God ordained spouse, and if he look a little off, I'm like, God, what's going on? What do I need to pray about? God will put it on you like that, because it's about protecting the person from a bigger threat. That particular young woman was in a dangerous situation. She admittedly said this in a live. She was in a dangerous situation. She didn't understand how dangerous she was because she was playing with fire with these two men. And the one that she was with, he ain't had nothing to lose. And she didn't realize that, but the God ordained spouse was calling, warning, warning, warning. Sometimes they don't have to be around you. You can feel them. How many of y'all can attest that since you've known who your God ordained spouse, you have been able to feel and sense them, even if they were not with you? With that being said, sometimes your God ordained male figure may take into their own hands, because they are the man. They might try to do things on their own without asking your permission, especially if y'all separated. And you may feel like, well, I'm not in a relationship with you right now, you don't have the right to. But technically, in some ways, because they are still your ordained spouse, they may still have right to do certain things. But that's up to the will of God. Usually he's not going to allow them to interfere unless it's a dire situation, until they fully walk into it. But usually it's their interference must be spiritual, meaning pray into it, come into alignment with it, do certain things in that aspect. But no, you're not really supposed to interact in a season that y'all are in separation. That's a no-no, unless the Lord specifically gives you permission to interact. So this can lead to you coming together for a moment, because God will test to see if y'all are ready to come back together. Now, in maturity, the man's going to take control and come into alignment with, okay, we're going to come up with a conscious plan. Because sometimes the man may be like, okay, look, I did wrong, so on and so forth. So he's going to come in, and there must be reconciliation here. But in that case, I've heard a lot of people say, do not take it so drastically that you're in accusatory mode and you're accusing him and you're like, you did all this and that and the other thing. Let it be. Come into agreement with one another and start the process. You two must heal. Now, this will only work if you come back into marital agreement. In this particular case, the two people immediately went back to having sex with each other. If you're not divorced, because some people in some situations, they will separate for years and never get a divorce. So if they're still married, they still in covenant. If they never divorce, legally, they still have covenant right to one another. And technically, the woman is never supposed to divorce the man, because it's some type of, if you go back into the Bible, it's written in the edicts of the marriage covenants. Not in Jesus's marriage covenant, but I think it was Paul who wrote the previous marriage covenant. And he spoke of the fact that there's certain laws as to why the man cannot divorce the wife. But if the wife is married to the husband, she's in consideration of being out of order and cheating, adultery, affair, all that, if she separates from him. Okay? So If they come back together and they aren't divorced, you aren't divorced, then you can go back into a sexual relationship with one another. And if you come into alignment and healing, but the Lord is probably, sometimes he may take you through a healing process, but you're going to walk through that. Now, the issue may be if the guy goes into a state of rebellion, feeling like he's not worthy or adequate in the position that he's in to fully love her, which leaves an open wound if they separate again. This was a tawdry moment for the series because he made the decision to relinquish the time in which they had together, which left us with one of the most tear-jerking scenes of our lives. Sometimes men cannot handle or feel adequate enough to be with you after the troubles and the dramas and all the stuff they done put you through. They'll sit up there and say, I don't think that I deserve you, which is actually perfect because the word I was just listening to. I was listening to this word just before I came back here. I was waiting for the last couple of videos to upload. And in it, the young woman was talking about, you don't deserve them and they don't deserve you. The only person that you really deserve is the Lord himself. Neither one of you are deemed adequate for one another, which to me, I was like, that's a little bit harsh, don't you think? But yeah, we are flawed human beings dealing with sin on an average day-to-day basis. It's hard. And I know y'all might have thought this word was going to be, oh, kingdom marriage. No, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry y'all thought that. I thought it was going to be better than this. Now that I'm sitting in the midst of it, I'm like, wow, this was heavy. Woo! But yeah, it's the case that it's not as, marriage isn't as nice as you thought it was going to be. And in their inadequacies, they might relinquish and decide to let it go for a period of time. I'm going to dig into something a little bit later as we get a little bit farther into this, just before I end, as to what the consequence of this is. But they ended up coming back to their original agreement and separated again. Some people will do that. Some people will come back together, heal, do what it is that they needed to do, come back to intimate relations together, and because of the inadequacies that the male or the female feels, they will not be able to withstand that testing period, and the Lord will separate them again. They'll be separated again. It's not to say that they'll never get back together. It's just they'll be separated again. So time may pass. Now, as you recall, I mentioned there was a rehabilitation person. The man may come into contact with a female that is almost the identical opposite of his God-ordained. Same strength, same what have you, but they're dealing with similar rebellion and stuff that the man has dealt with. He's not attracted to her, but this particular female is someone that he feels that he can mentor through the process. But because of the drama, because some women, I'm telling you from experience, there are women, especially when they see that you're hooked up with some specific guy, they're going to try to come in and try to take your man away from you. And if the man isn't intelligent enough or thinks that he can rehabilitate everybody, he may sit up there and say, I don't think that this person's a problem. You know who needs to deal with that? It's not you. You don't need to go into revenge mode, because that's what this woman did. She went into revenge mode and came back and ended up in blows with her god ordained spouse. That's a no-no. You need to take it back to the Lord. Meaning, if he got a friend, if he got somebody from his past, if he had somebody, whatever type of situation it is. And yes, they may make you feel inadequate as his God ordained spouse because they're in full alignment to everything that looks like what you have, but they are your identical opposite. They have a closer connection to that particular man. He's not interested in them. He loves you, but the closeness will make you feel jealous because it seems like he's closer to that person. I had this situation happen to me with the counterfeit relationship that I was in. He had a friend that was so much closer, and he admittedly told me to my face that he was closer to her than he was to me because he said that he trusted her more than me with certain information. And I was like, excuse me? So you're going to have moments. But that wasn't my God ordained spouse, so that don't really matter. But I needed to use that as an example to get you the understanding. So there may come a point that y'all may come to blows to certain situations. These two came to blows. She punched him and he turned around and punched her back. Now, do I ever condone physical violence? Absolutely not. Sometimes emotions run high. Yes. Sometimes y'all get so frustrated. One of the best songs I think is the song by Tony Braxton, Trippin'. He tripping, you tripping, we both be tripping, but that's what happens in love sometimes. You tripping, she tripping. But that's where the true love falls in. And she fought with him because she still loved him. And she came into the situation not understanding the scenario, and she kind of started fighting him back. And because she was fighting him back, she ended up in that scenario where she felt hurt. So she, in the midst of argument, decided to throw a jab at him, not understanding what he had done for her prior from the last time they'd seen each other. And he got angry and said, I don't want to see you, get out. Sometimes when you are in confrontation with your God ordained spouse, whether you're together, whether you're trying to work some things out and God's trying to work some things through you, do not come to blows. Do not hit below the belt. Do not throw certain jabs at one another, spiritually or at their personal past or so on and so forth. Yes, we need to heal, but no, you do not need to be throwing certain hits at each other. You're trying to, I remember watching the movie, Why Did I Get Married? Don't ever hit below the belt. Don't do that. You realize that you are, yes, this is a marriage. This is something y'all are fighting for, but y'all don't need to be fighting each other. I heard Heather Lindsay and her husband say it this way. You need to learn to fight together, but not fight each other in the midst of it. Don't fight each other. You know each other's triggers. You know what the issues are. As you are at a point where you've come into a settlement of understanding each other, you know how to diffuse each other's triggers too. Yes, you may have moments where it just becomes like, I can't seem to get out of this viciousness of this particular argument. Then that means you got to step back. That means you got to walk away. And you know what happened? When these two decided to walk away, though they left the argument the way that they did, he drove all the way from another state to come back to where she was to apologize. Now, granted, he got into a fight with her boyfriend at the time. Because some of y'all, in the midst of y'all separations, you gonna move on. He gonna move on. They're temporary people. They're not gonna stay there. It happens. He may have some feelings towards the person that you got hooked up with. You may have some feelings towards the person of the fact that he even got hooked up with somebody. It is what it is. But y'all gonna come together in the moment of forgiveness, and you're always gonna forgive each other. It's gonna be like you know how you hear those sayings of it was like we were never apart? Every time you come together, it's going to be as if you were never apart. You pick up where you left off, even if it was a fight. You're going to apologize to one another. You're going to come back into a peaceful place. You understand what I'm saying? So, even with that, you're going to begin to heal. So, let's see. I'm actually paused at this point. We're already 31 minutes in. And I'm going to go to the next video. Till the next one. Much love, faith, peace, and blessings. Bye-bye.